Dear viewers, it is the second video on the same poem, If You Forget Me, written by Pablo Neruda. In the first video on the same poem, we discussed about the poet, about his beginning of his literary career and his service to the nation as a senator, and his escape to Mexico, Argentina and Mexico, and his winning of Nobel Prize, and he returned home after a few years, and once again he became a close advisor to the president of the country. All that we discussed. And then we read the text of the poem, If You Forget Me. And throughout that text, we narrate the poem and we summarize the poem in detail as to understand it better. We read the poem line by line. Now, with these objectives, we have to discuss the poem in the second session. That you are supposed to answer three types of questions in the examination on any poem that is prescribed to you by our university. One is you are supposed to annotate the lines. While you annotate the lines, you have to identify the poem and the poet, and you have to explain the meaning of the lines given in the question paper, and also you have to contextualize those lines in that poem to connect that meaning of the lines to the total theme of the poem. And that's how you have to analyze the lines and analyze its connection, its meaning connected to the total theme of the poem. That's what we say annotation or annotating the lines. And another, that there shall be some short note questions. You have to answer them in one page or in more than half a page. And there you have to go through the poem with the different views, and also you have to go through the poem to pick out some of the symbolic elements and some of the images that are used by the poet, and how the background of the poet is connected directly to the theme of the poem, and that in different ways you have to study the poem. That helps you to answer such short answer questions and long answer questions also. So these are the three types of questions you have to answer in the exam on a poem. To prepare you people to get ready on a poem with the purpose of answering three types of questions like this, we have to discuss the poem once again. So let us first concentrate upon the text of the poem, and also let us keep the background of the poet in connection with the text of the poem, in connection with the summary of the poem. Because see how the poet's background is directly connected with the theme of the poem is clearly known, is clearly shown, is clearly imparted in this poem, throughout this poem, from the beginning of the poem to the end of the poem. That's why I said the poet was in exile in Argentina and Mexico in few years, and that's why he became homesick, and also he was very much disappointed that he was away from his beloved also. And that's how you have to see the poem to understand in two ways, that it is an address to his beloved and it is an address to his motherland. It is an address to his beloved and also it is an address to his motherland. So with these points of views, you have to read the poem. Let me tell you that the poet Pablo Neruda has his own way of expression. He is an eccentric poet, he is a conditional lover, and he is a straightforward man of emotions, and that is what he expresses in this poem also. And to understand this poem in a better way, you have to go through the poem, go through the text, looking for different images. Let me tell you about the images used in this poem. For example, while he begins this poem, he uses immediately some of the images like crystal moon at the red branch of the slow autumn, and the fire, impalpable ash, wrinkled body of the log. So these are the elements of nature that are used as images, and what they symbolize. That is also a very important thing, that you have to critically appreciate such usages, such use of the images in his poem. Crystal moon at the red branch, slow autumn, fire, impalpable ash, body of the log. So these are all the images of nature, the natural elements. And by using these images of nature, he is very symbolical. In what way he is very symbolical? See, the law of nature should always be respected, and he believes that once that law of nature will really call him back. So that is the truth. Law of nature is the truth, but that once will really be victorious. That is how he looks towards his future, looks towards the future of his life. And then he moves on to use other images like aromas, light, metals. So aromas, light, metals, these are also the images of hope, the images, positive images, images of hope. Still he has hope that he will come back to his country. He will come back and win his love, his beloved once again. And what he dreams of his future, that will come true. And that's what with these images he tries to express in this poem. And then in the later part he tells us that wind of banners means the feelings of his love. Wind of banners, he uses that image, wind of banners, for feelings of his love. And he uses the shore, I have roots, see, shore, roots. So these are also the images that shows that his connection with his country, his connection with his beloved. And later, in the last few lines of the poem, a day a flower climbs up to your lips to seek me. Flower climbs up to your lips. See, flower is a thing of beauty. It is a symbol of beauty. And lips climbs up to your lips. Here, lips themselves are made flower. So when the lips move, when that particular person speaks, those lips move. And when they make movement, and there we will see the flowering, we will see the efflorescence of flower. So these are all the images he uses, and those images appear to be very symbolic. And then the two ways of understanding the poem I discussed in the last session, that it is an address to his motherland and it is an address to his beloved. And in the first half, it seems to be really it is an address to his motherland. And in the last few lines, we feel that it is really it is an address to his beloved Urushiya. So, in two ways we can understand this. It is another interpretation. Now, let me take some examples of annotations. For example, aromas, light, metals were little boats that sail toward those isles of viewers that wait for me. So here you have to identify the poem. You have to mention the title of the poem and you have to mention the poet's name. And here these images, aromas, light, metals, these are used and compared to the little boats, and they sail from the country who he was in exile, from that country to his motherland, and they sail in the flowing water of the time. They sail to his country, and all these carry him, carry his feelings, carry his love, carry his patriotic heart to his country, and which country he feels that he is waiting for him. And this is what you have to explain to annotate these lines. See, the existing things are like boats which take the speaker towards his beloved or towards his country. So this is how it is connected with the total theme of the poem, because the theme of the poem itself is his love towards his country, his love towards his beloved. And to justify that and to make it so prevailing, make it so concrete, he uses these images. Here the second annotation, if little by little you stop loving me, I shall stop loving you little by little. Here once again you have to identify the title of the poem and the poet's name. Here speaker is challenging his country as well, he is warning his country that if that country stops loving him, he is also ready to stop loving that country. So he is very stubborn, he is very eccentric, and he never bothers if that country forgets him or if that country stops loving him, because he is also ready to stop loving his country. So it is a warning kind of a tone we listen to in these lines. Give and take policy attitude of the speaker. If you love me, I also love you. If you don't love me, I don't love you. So this is what he justifies here. He stands by his justification in these lines. So the third annotation, if suddenly you forget me, do not ask for me, for I shall already have forgotten you. Means, if you forget me, I have already forgotten you. So more eccentric he becomes and more stubborn he becomes towards his country. That he imagines if that country forgets me, he becomes angry. If that country forgets me, he becomes angry, because how can that country forget me? How can that country forget me? Because I have served that country, I have loved that country should not forget me because it is my motherland. So it is his feeling that he tries to express in these lines. And annotation 4, I shall lift my arms and my roots will set off to seek another land. Here he declares himself that he is mentally prepared and he is ready to go away permanently from his country and to live in some other country as the citizen of that country permanently. He never bothers about his motherland if that motherland forgets him or leaves him aside. So that you have to analyze. And then see what kind of short answer questions we can have here. Those are write a note on the threatening tone of the speaker. See what threatening tone we listen to, in what lines we listen to these threatening lines. You have to analyze those lines. And write a note on the conditional love. See what conditional love. If she stops loving him, he too stops loving her. And if you forget me, I have already forgotten you. And if you don't invite me to your country, I am ready to go away forever and stay in some other country permanently as a citizen of other country. I never bother about you. Like that he tells, it is conditional love of the country. See, discuss if you forget me as a love poem. If this poem is to be analyzed and discussed as a love poem, so you can identify that it is an address to his beloved. So with some of these images, we can also identify that beloved here. So crystal moon, red branch, autumn season, fire, these are the images that are very near to the love affair or the image of a girl. Aromas, light, metals, so these are also valuable things that we can. Wind of banners means feelings of love. So with the help of these, we can identify his beloved. I shall lift my arms and my roots will set off to seek another land. So that is directly he is addressing his country. So that, except that here, if each day a flower climbs up to your lips to seek me, ah my love, ah my own, in me all the fire is repeated. So these are also the words we can go with in the text of the poem that help us to identify his beloved, that it is an address to his beloved. See, after this session, the students, you are able to identify the poem and the poet, and you could understand the poem, and with the help of that understanding, that comprehension, you can analyze the poem and analyze the given lines, and you can understand the significance and the symbolic meaning of the given lines. So you can also write the short and long answers. So that is the learning outcome after you listen to the video second on the same poem, If You Forget Me. So I think it all helps you a lot from the examination point of view. With this much, I would like to put an end to this video. Thank you.